Thanks so much, Sandeep. Thanks for inviting me, even though I'm filling up a position as my photograph is not there. Hiten, where is Hiten? There he is. That was amazing. That was absolutely amazing. What an iconic building you've made. It's fantastic. So, we're gonna, we do much simpler buildings, not that iconic. Brick, mainly we use bricks. So, and looking at holistic healthcare, and what does it mean? So, this is simple principles. If we see, healthcare is typified by deep boxes, very deep boxes. So we feel that for cross ventilation, etc., you should not go more than 14 meters wide. That should be the maximum width. So you get a cross ventilation and a courtyard. And as Hiten was trying to say, the problems of daylight, etc., are taken care. Also, you can look at natural ventilation when things are not very wide. So you're minimizing your dependence on air conditioning and on IT. So the other thing that happens is that your corridor, normally it's a doubly loaded corridor. So you end up with two singly loaded corridors. So people moving up and down also enjoy the courtyards. So typically your old would be a central corridor with departments on either side. The way we feel it needs to be done now, there needs to be 3 corridors to segregate: the public corridor, then in the center the staff, doctors and the patients corridor, and then the other end, the service corridor, so that there's a segregation and the cross-infection isn't there. Similar, just seeing this in section, what happens, so that the penetration of light is there and natural ventilation is there, and you're not dependent on artificial environments. And you also kind of, in planning, look at the degrees of sterility, starting from the registration public, where there's high movement, and then lower and restricted. So that movement is controlled also between the public and the staff corridor, so that patients and staff are only moving in the central corridor, and all the public is moving in the outer corridor, and all service people are moving in the outer one. Post-pandemic, these touch-free systems have really become popular and needed. So when you're looking at holistic healthcare, you're looking at enhancing calmness. Hiten spoke quite a lot about biophilic design and helic gardens. He spoke about net zero, effective easy maintenance, and effective segregation. We feel if these 5 points are kind of achieved, you can get a more holistic architecture. So more naturally ventilated spaces, minimize cross ventilation through planning, segregation of movements, well ventilated treatment and procedure areas, green zones, courtyards, reduce human movement across the building, and reduce touch points. So calmness in a hospital is very important. People come in agitated, and as Hiten said, if you can connect them with nature and daylight, that just helps so much more. So keep having people be calm, even the operation theatres, etc., and very, very biophilic spaces throughout. In the treatment areas, the critical care areas, as well, the ICUs, if you can have daylight, people connected to the sky, it really helps calm people a lot. Net zero is something we all try to achieve, and Ramchandran becomes our hero in this, where we're all kind of pushing him and taking his guidance in how to achieve this. And I think this is really worthy goal for all of us now, which sustainability. But the principles of planning really help in that, because then you don't have to spend so much money to achieve this. We feel the construction should be modular, and therefore, if it's modular based on defined grids, it can be much faster and it can be flexible. So that's why we talk about a 14-meter grid. We feel in a 14-meter grid, we found that most hospital functions can work out fairly well. I think we've spoken about segregation quite a lot. I'll just skip this. So having your public and your doctors, patients corridor separately. These are some of the projects we've recently completed. This is for the teaching hospital for Symbiosis, phase 1, where we used bricks, very humble, didn't have to import it from anywhere. We produced it on the site. These are hand-compressed, sun-dried bricks made on the site itself. It took us about 3 months to figure out the soil mix. I think I've gone through most of these points, but it's fundamentally a courtyard project. So there were 2 functions in this building. One was the hospital and the other was the training center. So this is the entrance of the training center, because it was a very high-tech training center. So this is the entrance. So just create a little more drama. And the top 2 floors was the training center. The central courtyard that you first look at when you come, as well as the cafe, etc., opens into this courtyard. And all the corridors are around this, and the staircases are around this courtyard. We've used, so in the Symbiosis campus, we've been working on the campus since 2003, and this was a building built in the last 2 years. So we wanted to use brick in a different way. So we kind of played with the angles so that when the sun moves across the building, the shadows change continuously. So the building, hour to hour, changes how it looks. That's just how it's diagrams of how we worked out the facade of the building. Some interior shots with the ICU, which with the windows you can look out. So there's lots of daylight. The typical room. It's a fairly low-cost project, about 3,600 rupees a square foot. So it's the materials, etc., are fairly simple in the building. The OT, the nurse station. This is another project competition, Sage Hospital in Andheri, which we did not win, but it's interesting enough to show. The principles of design are the same. So, wings of light in a sense, but because the site was very different, the configuration was very different. But the same principles, you can achieve very different forms. I just wanted to illustrate that. A rural hospital for D.Y. Patil, again, the set of principles is the same. Narrow buildings, different series of courtyards. You come in a large courtyard, and then smaller courtyards for the OPD. And similar for JSW Steel, Sanjeevani, this is an existing hospital that we added to. So this part is what we've added, so that's the existing hospital on your right side. And so we had to kind of do surgery here, add some blocks, remove some blocks, and that's phase 1 coming up. This is again one of the courtyards in the building, the OPD courtyard, the cafe courtyard. So as you can see, the buildings are very connected to the outside. This is inside looking out. And this is a very old project of ours, Hinduja. I'm putting this up because it was unique. So again, you can see wings of light. It's plus shaped, tall, wings of light. And the services in this building are, all from, would you see the jali? That jali is actually a duct. And all the services are from the outside. So any changes to be done in the building can be done from the outside. You don't have to go inside the building at all. This is another hospital we did. Thank you. Thank you very much.
That was brilliant, Rahul. The design principles that you showed were reflected in all of your design, in all of your hospital design. It was really fantastic, very convincing, very logical. 14-meter wide corridor. I think once there is a connect to our nature, which is again seen in every project of yours, that has a therapeutic influence on the healing of patient and also on a productivity of a doctor and a support staff. And Hinduja, of course, we know is an icon by the senior Kadri, and yet it is best designed. So if anybody has any questions for Rahul, the floor is open for everyone. Okay, so I have a question, Rahul, for you. While you spoke about the biophilic characteristics, the daylight harvesting, is there any consideration for the wellness? When we talk about the wellness in terms of ergonomics, acoustics, and several other factors that again influences the fast healing process of a patient. We talk about the sky view, we talk about, there are several wellness aspects, those have been captured in current design of a hospital. Of course, we could see there. I want it to be said for the benefit of audience.
Well, we coined the term, Nitin, our design director who's here, it coined the term as, we were trying to counter the Vastu, which is a pain in all architects' side. It doesn't make sense. So we were trying to counter out, and we came up with a pranic hospital. And what does that mean? So it was really dealing with all the senses. So starting with your eyes and what we spoke about calmness. So what you see at all times is kind of keeps you calm. If you have fresh air, biophilic design, courtyards, trees, pollution will be less. So what you will breathe will be cleaner air, and cross infections, etc., wouldn't be there. If we can have water, and if we can have birds or music, then you deal with the ears. So what you hear. So aesthetics is about pleasing all the senses. So if you're dealing with all the senses, and then of course touch or feel or temperature on the skin, and in different climates is different. So if you can deal with these senses, then and keep them comfortable and probably at a higher level of calmness, healing would happen on its own, is what we felt.